I used to think love was the last thing they couldn't control. The one emotion that was too unpredictable to legislate, too chaotic to contain. That no matter how much technology evolved, no matter how deep the surveillance went, people would always have the freedom to fall in love. Irrationally, inconveniently, beautifully. I was wrong. 3 years ago, they passed the Relational Integrity Act, and everything changed. It didn't outlaw love, not directly. It reframed it, repackaged it as a risk, an economic liability. Emotional instability, they said, was costing the global economy billions. Heartbreak increased productivity loss. Unregulated affection was linked to impulsive spending, domestic unrest, even acts of political dissent. So they created a solution: state-certified partnerships. They called it harmonized bonding. You submit your emotional history, biometric data, and social DNA. The system, called LUVR, runs trillions of combinations in seconds and delivers your optimal match. The person with whom you'll experience the least friction and the highest long-term emotional efficiency. They issue you a license. You get priority housing, shared tax status, mental health support, and access to the emotional credit system. You're not just in love, you're in compliance. At first, people resisted. Of course we did. We romanticized free will, soulmates, butterflies. But then the penalties came. Unlicensed intimacy led to fines. Children born out of certified partnerships couldn't access national education portals. Couples who refused their match assignments were flagged as emotionally unstable, red-listed from social housing and public services. It stopped feeling like choice. It started feeling like survival. I registered because I was tired. Tired of short-lived sparks that burned out in blame. Tired of being alone in a world that punished disconnection. I told myself I'd just see who the system matched me with. I didn't have to commit. I didn't have to feel anything. I just wanted to see if maybe, just maybe, love could be engineered. Her name was Mara. We matched at 97.2% compatibility, the second highest score in my cohort. She had a neuropattern nearly identical to mine. Conflict suppression rate of 88%. Shared humor bandwidth. Mutual trauma offsets. The system even matched us on sleep rhythm tolerance, which apparently is a real metric. We were statistically harmonious. The first time we met was in a state-licensed partner sync cafe. Clean walls, soft music, biometric chairs that tracked our micro-reactions. Mara walked in like someone who had never trusted anything without a manual. We shook hands, sat down, talked about the weather, which the system flagged as superficial bonding. So we pivoted. We talked about the matches that didn't work out. The people we loved before algorithms got involved. She told me about a boy she met at an unsanctioned art exhibit who made her laugh so hard she forgot where she was. The system matched him to someone else. She cried when he disappeared from her feed. I asked her if she ever wished she hadn't signed up. She said, "I wish I didn't have to." But then she smiled, not forced, not curated, and said, "But I'm glad it's you." We signed the licensing forms 3 weeks later. Not because we believed in the system, but because we wanted to try. For a while, it worked. Better than anything else had. We got a shared living unit in a regulated emotions district. Every morning, we'd get a compatibility score sent to our wrist monitors. If we fell below 80%, the system would send gentle recalibration nudges. Take a walk. Schedule a check-in. Share a nostalgic experience. It was clinical, sure, but it kept us talking. When we fought, and we did, the system mediated. Recommended breathing exercises. Calming ambient tones. Suggested spacing protocols. We didn't spiral. We stabilized. It felt safe. And then something strange happened. We started feeling more than we were supposed to. We laughed at moments the system didn't flag as funny. We kissed spontaneously, outside of our allocated affection window. I wrote her poems that didn't rhyme. She painted my face while I slept and posted it anonymously on the black market art net. We were falling in love. Real love. The kind the algorithm didn't predict. And that was the problem. Our readings began to spike. Erratic emotional surges. High volatility. Disruption markers. We were told our emotional resonance was unsanctioned. Too chaotic. Too real. The Department of Emotional Regulation sent a compliance officer. She was polite. Cold. She said, "Your bond is unstable. We recommend emotional reboot protocol or reassignment." We refused. So, they froze our benefits, cut our housing credit, blocked our access to the ECS. Our score dropped to non-compliant. We were warned that if we didn't dissolve the pairing voluntarily, we'd be forcibly decertified and rematched. That was the first time I saw Mara cry in silence. No sobs, no gasps, just her lips pressed together as the tears fell. I reached for her. She flinched. Not because of me, but because the walls were listening. We tried to get back in line, follow the protocols, pretend. But it was too late. The system had flagged our love as unstable, dangerous. We started noticing shadows, delayed messages, surveillance drones that hovered just a second too long outside our window. A painting app stopped saving. My poems were flagged as romantic subversion. The final warning came on a Sunday. This pairing has been identified as a Class 4 emotional risk. You have 72 hours to separate. Failure to comply will result in memory modification procedures and partner reassignment. Memory modification. They weren't just going to split us up. They were going to erase us from each other. We had 3 days to forget each other or be forced to. We packed our things that night, wiped our devices, cracked our wristbands, ran. There's a part of the city where surveillance is spotty. The old zones. Analog clusters. Mara had a contact. Off-grid. We moved in with nothing but a bag of clothes, 2 notebooks, and a Polaroid camera. We've been living here for 11 months. No prompts, no scores, no optimization. Just noise and mess and silence and love. We fight. We laugh. We grow. We fall apart and piece it back together again. Not because we have to, but because we choose to. Some days I think we're idiots. Life was easier with the structure. Predictable. Supported. Now we rely on our instincts. Our words. Our timing. There's no app to tell me when she needs space. No tone monitor to tell her when I'm close to snapping. We're not efficient. We're real. And that is terrifyingly beautiful. But we're not safe. Last week, we saw a drone hovering nearby. Not like the old ones. New. Quiet. Smart. It didn't flash. Didn't buzz. Just watched. Mara thinks they found us. We have a plan. Backup IDs. Escape routes. Places where names don't matter. But I don't want to run anymore. I want to speak. Because if they take us tomorrow, I want this to be heard. Love cannot be optimist. You can't quantify goosebumps. You can't regulate longing. You can't predict the way someone's laugh fills a room and rearranges your insides. The system wants harmony. But harmony without risk isn't love. It's compliance. And I'd rather love Mara, messy, unsanctioned, imperfect, than feel safe with someone the system deems ideal. Because perfection is predictable. And love should surprise you. So, if you're still watching this, ask yourself, If love became a government service, would you apply? Or would you resist, even if it meant living without protection? Because someday soon, choosing who to love might not be a right. It might be a risk. And if this story made your heart beat a little differently, like this video. Subscribe if you still believe love shouldn't be licensed. Share this with someone who thinks emotions can be regulated. And in the comments tell me, would you accept a perfect match if it meant giving up the chaos of real love?